Welcome back, everyone. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has confirmed the arrest of Mr. Simon Ekpa, a Nigerian Finnish citizen and prominent leader of IPOB, on Thursday by the Finnish authorities. The ministry disclosed this in a statement by Ope Banwo, who is the acting spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, on Friday in Abuja. He said that Ekpa was arrested on charges of inciting terrorism and promoting violence. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Edward Buba, and the Director of Defense Information, Toko Guzo, in their separate statements on Thursday, described the arrest as a key victory in the fight against terrorism. Meanwhile, the Apex Igbo Sociocultural Organization, Ohaneze Indigo, has expressed immense relief and gratitude following the arrest of Simon Ekpa. Ekpa is one of the 97 individuals declared wanted by the Defense Headquarters in March 2024. Joining us tonight for more perspectives on this is Dr. Ope Banwo, a US-based lawyer, author, entrepreneur, and internet business consultant, as we discuss the chances of Simon Ekpa's extradition to Nigeria. Good evening to you, Dr. Banwo. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Right, so this is not the first time Simon Ekpa would be arrested. Again, he has been arrested for terrorism and, to be very specific, international terrorism. But is Finland obligated to repatriate him to Nigeria? I think you should start from there.
Yes. What was the question? That should he be repatriated?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I think he should. The crime he's been accused of committing is against the Nigerian state. It's against the sovereignty of Nigeria. And I think he should be brought back here to come and face charges. That is what is fair. Is activism, is talk, is rabble-rousing, is having direct effect in Nigeria, not in Finland, not anywhere else. So this is the appropriate place for him to be tried. And I think he should be sent back expeditiously to come and face his charges. I think everybody will agree with that, unless his own hardcore supporters. At least they can't claim he was abducted in the street in broad daylight. This was done properly in a very civil way. The Nigerian government pressured the Finland government to get hold of somebody who's causing disaffection in their nation, and they've arrested him. Everything is all civilized, so they should just put him on the next plane and let him come and join his colleague here.
But is Finland obligated to repatriate him to Nigeria?
Well, it depends on the kind of bilateral treaty they have with Nigeria. I'm not aware of that. I've not really researched into that. But if they do, they might be obligated, but in the sense of having signed contract, but under even international law. All right, they arrested somebody for terrorism activities, then they should, I would not like to use the word obligated, but it's in their own interest to also send somebody they're accusing of terrorism to the country where the terrorism is doing, where he has accomplices, where he has all the evidence against him. So than trying him in Finland. It's really not about Finland. It's not asking for secession from Finland. It's not asking for a Finnish law to be broken. Everything he speaks about, he talks about, is about Nigeria. And I think that was his game, thinking that, okay, I'm in Finland, so Finland people cannot arrest me because I'm not committing crime against Finland. But he forgot about the general international law against terrorism. There are so many treaties out there. There are so many resolutions of the United Nations that have been passed against terrorism globally. And they could get him for that, and I think they've gotten him for that. His lawyers may try to argue it, but my point is, he should be, Finland should feel obligated to send him here, because the international terrorism is what everybody is trying to prevent, regardless of what you think your justification is. So I think they will send him. After all, they did the arrest at the request and pressure of the Nigerian government. Then it will make no sense for them not to send him down. Obviously, they will.
You know, you talked about bilateral agreements, and it's important to know if there is any between Nigeria and Finland, because according to Rome statutes, it's a duty of every state to exercise its criminal jurisdiction over those responsible for international crimes. And of course, all countries who are signatories to it must adhere to this status. 124 countries are state parties to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. So are you saying that Simon Ekpa can be tried in Nigeria and Finland as well?
It can be tried anywhere they have evidence that he has violated international law.
So what kind of evidence are you talking about?
Well, There's plenty. First, you have to understand before we go to the evidence. You know that Nigeria really doesn't have an embassy in Finland. So that could be an issue. But we do have, I believe, in Sweden, from where we operate all the Scandinavian countries. So that could present its own legal issues on its own. But coming back to evidence, the evidence against Ekpa is everywhere. Okay, there's videos, there's Facebook, there's Twitter. All of those are admissible evidence now. There is writing. He organized conferences that are recorded. So evidence against him, I don't think, is the problem. The man is on every day. He's inciting violence against the Nigerian state. Okay, his incitation of violence is even worse than Nnamdi Kanu. If you were everything he has to say is about violence against Nigeria and Nigerians. So I don't think finding the evidence will be the problem. It's all over YouTube. It's on his Facebook pages, it's on his Instagram pages. The Helsinki conference that he had was a direct secessionist move against the Nigerian state. It was pronounced. It's not like they have to start gathering evidence against him. It's all that. The man said it. Not only was he saying it like a vulgar abuse, that you can say just talking, he has taken more steps to actually activate his desire for secession. He has held a conference. He has declared himself the prime minister of a non-existent country that wants to secede away from Nigeria. He's the prime minister. So it's no longer about just talking. Anybody can talk, I want to leave Nigeria, we want to do Oduduwa, we want to do Biafra. But when you start doing conferences, when you start appointing officers, when you start doing overt actions every day towards that objective, then the evidence is everywhere. The question is, do they want to try him? And where do they try him? Is my personal, there's even as much evidence against him, maybe even more so than Nnamdi Kanu that has been in jail for a long time.
So because this is an international crime, and in the absence of a bilateral agreement between Nigeria and Finland, what conditions must Nigeria meet before this extradition happens?
Well, to be honest with you, that will be in the realm of most international lawyers. I'm not going to pretend that I know all the nuances there. But what I do know is that we have our international, our foreign affairs department, ministry. They have reached out to them. They've sent lots of correspondence about this gentleman, about why they want him in Nigeria, want him arrested and brought to Nigeria. From what we are understanding, it was based on that representation that they went ahead and arrested him this time. So for me, Nigeria must have probably met the requirements of what the Finland people need to make the arrest. Now about repatriation, I'm sure they'll lay down procedures for that. Yeah, people might say, will he face fair trial in Nigeria? No, he will face fair trial because it's a trial of his peers. At the end of the day, his peers are in Nigeria, they're not in Finland. So I'm not going to stay and say I know the exact step-by-step that Nigeria needs to follow to get him to be repatriated, but I would trust our external affairs ministry to know what to do. They've already gone this far. It would be a tragedy if they can't put the steps together to get him here legally. They are doing it. If they can get Nnamdi Kanu here that was not even properly arrested, so to speak, from the point of view of most in the world, he was practically abducted from what they say. This man's case was different. There was representation made. There was, based on that representation, he was arrested. It's a clear case of an international fugitive, and they've declared him wanted. So all the steps are already in place. It's a wanted fugitive globally. Interpol cooperates with every other country. We have made it official that we want this guy. And now it's in Finland. We have approached Finland that this man is in your country. We want him for this, and they've arrested him. So to me, a big chunk of it has been done. Of course, I don't have access to the specific details.
Dr. Banwo, maybe you should help us with the basis. Talk to us about the extradition process in Nigeria vis-a-vis what is obtainable in Finland. Because this time when Ekpa is a politician in Finland, a member of the ruling party, serves the country as an army officer. So would the country be comfortable sending him down to Nigeria, considering the zero extradition treaty between Finland and Nigeria?
Well, if there is no extradition treaty, we don't even have an embassy in Finland. Yeah, they can decide they don't want to send him back, but how does that profit them? If they're not going to send him back here, why did they even bother to arrest him? Because for the conviction of his terrorist activities against Nigeria, they need the evidence here. Okay? So they decide they're not going to extradite him. They want to try him there. And then I guess between us and between them and our foreign affairs, they'll sort it out. And I'm sure we have enough people in our government that can go out there and go testify against him. So wherever it's tried, I don't think it should be the big issue. Personally, if I'm in this government, I don't even want them to even bring him here. Personally, okay, if I'm advising the Tinubu government, let them try him in Helsinki, let them jail him there. Because by bringing him here, you are more or less giving life to the Biafran cause. Now the people who support him, the agitation, they're going to come to court, they're going to carry placards. You are giving a lot of air to this secessionist talk when you really don't want it. Makunda would say, if you don't want people talking about something, you yourself should not talk about it. So if Nigerian government is going through too much pains to bring him here, it's like bringing a martyr down. It's not a good thing. It cannot end up being a good thing for them. But now you have to deal with crowd. Now you have to deal with the old talk. We are all talking about it now, about whether the Igbos are marginalized or whether it's right to ask for whatever. And it's going to use that opportunity to whip up sentiment for the Biafran thing, just like Nnamdi Kanu does every time they take him to court. You don't want that drama. Let him finish his case there. There's enough evidence. We can send representatives to go give evidence, and they quietly finish his matter. He serves his life jail, and everybody.
So that will lead me to my next question, Dr. Banwo. For many who have said Simon Ekpa's offense is not only against the Nigerian military, but also to his brothers and sisters. So I ask, what do you consider the security implication of this arrest in the Southeast? I mean, this arrest is coming days ahead of what he called the Biafra Convention.
Well, it's funny. I always say this again. Everybody knows me. I'm a human rights activist. I believe everybody should have their rights. And the fact that I'm here, people might say, oh, is he no longer? No, I'm still what I am. Okay? If you have committed a crime, you should be tried. As far as people are concerned, you will see that they are broken into two. Majority of the Igbos that I've spoken to, and I'm talking Clubhouse, Twitter, everywhere, they actually don't like this guy. They think that it's a win for them that he has been arrested. They don't want the Biafran nation. There's a very few set of people who do want it. So bringing him here, is going to cause disaffection among those brothers there. It's going to create unwanted attention on Nigeria. It's going to give the government too much unnecessary headache. They don't have to deal with this man. It's my personal opinion in the matter. If I'm advising, I won't do this. If I'm in government, I'll just say keep him there. That's my own take.
But is there a possibility that this arrest brings peace to the Southeast?
Well, it can bring peace if you don't come and put him in the midst of the Southeast Easterners. In other words, his trial is going to be a circus. That's why they still can't try Nnamdi Kanu well. I don't think they're looking for evidence against Nnamdi Kanu now. But they know what that means. Every time they have to take him to court and start taking evidence, it's just going to be too much drama, point too much attention to the agitations of the Igbos. So that some people are happy that he's arrested so that they can make a big spectacle out of him. So yes, he has committed crimes against his own people, but there are also some of his own people who also support him. So putting him in the midst of them is like putting fire to gasoline. I don't think, again, I keep repeating that. So if the federal government wants to bring him down, they have to ask themselves very honest questions. Why? What are we going to gain? They are not going to gain anything by trying Simon Ekpa in Nigeria. They are going to lose a lot. Because what is their own end game? To shut down the Biafran movement. You don't shut that down by giving air to those who are feeling that the Igbos are being maltreated. And they will use him as a rallying cry, whether he deserves it or not, as long as they are seeing him every day. It's my personal thing there. So to me, the Southeasterners are not the one even demanding they should go and bring Simon Ekpa now. Many of them don't like him. Many of them don't want him. They even claim it's a win. So, but will it bring peace to the Southeastern area? That was your question. If they bring him down here, what do you think? I don't think it's going to bring peace. It's not going to bring peace because they will still fight among themselves. Those who are in favor of him are not just going to keep quiet and just say, okay, let all of us go. But his arrest and being kept in Finland will be a big win for the federal government because the movement will die a natural death. Is their leader. If they don't have a leader to rally around, they don't have a leader to carry placard to come to court with, they are going to die a natural death. They don't even have, really, they are not strong anyway. After all, if he really has strong supporters, how come the whole street is not jammed with people demonstrating for him? So it's just some guy with maybe 20, 30 guys supporting him, in my opinion. You make him stronger by bringing him here.
Perhaps this is you reacting to my next question, but in proper perspective,
yes,
how do you respond to those who now say there are alternative ways to react to secessionist movements, and it's time for the federal government to start exploring those options instead of the use of force?
I agree, assuming you ask a very, very important question. Because everybody keeps assuming there's a real secessionist movement. There is none. And I say that with all sense of responsibility, and I've been dragged over that on Twitter. There is none. If you want to do secession, it's not what these jokers are doing. If you want to do real secession, there is real movement behind it. How come the secessionist movement people have not consolidated their own Southeast zone? How many people are supporting this so-called IPOP? Because if they are, by now they should be controlling the Abia House, the Anambra House, all the Igbo areas. That's how you start. You consolidate that area, and from there you can then start fighting against the main government, or start asserting your right. Right now, as we speak, not one senator has raised a motion in the House for Simon Ekpa to be released, or Nnamdi Kanu for that matter. No House of Reps, somebody, no government. So there is really no real secession. What I think they are calling recession is just being frustrated with the fact that Igbos have not been given the power to rule this nation. It's a cry for attention. And I've said it, and I'm going to say it again, even though it's going to get me in trouble. The way you get attention is not just to cry secession, is to form alliances. That is why Peter Obi lost. I say with all sense of responsibility. People know me, know that I was supporting Peter Obi during this election. And I said, you lost because you are not ready to go play second fiddle to the Hausas, which you have to do first. You cannot be, say you and Atiku want to run for a ticket, and then you say Atiku should be your VP and you will be president. Where is that done? By now, it could have been vice president if they are teamed together, just like Jagaban did with Tinubu, with Buhari in their own time. You form a coalition, you take down the ruling government, and then you guys figure it out. Jagaban put that government together, right? He didn't even get VP. But he swallowed his pride. He took his time. He came back, now he's president. And I was saying that then. They didn't hear me. I said, let Peter Obi take VP. If he's VP, now he's in the game. Then maybe he can position himself to succeed. So to me, to come back to the topic, there is really no risk. They want to use it as a bargaining power to get power, but they are not doing it well. I told them yesterday they should go and learn from the Yorubas. They didn't like that. The Yorubas too are talking to Oduduwa now. But everybody, I was saying that this is just talk to be able to make sure the Hausas don't take the power to the north. The Yorubas got their presidency. Nobody is talking about Oduduwa anymore. They are talking secession, but they are not making the moves. Mr. Tinubu went out of his way to cut the north for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And now, but they don't want to do that. One of them told me, oh, the Igbos bow to nobody. But you are the minority, not even the second minority, you are the third minority. And it's a democracy, the rule of the more over the few. So until you can take the Yorubas to your side or the Hausas to your side, you are never going to get power. It's just the reality. So they can choose, and I say this with respect. I'm not disrespecting the Igbos. I love them. I've been one of the people championing their cause. I supported an Igbo presidency before anybody else. So this is not about me being against them, but about being real. This is politics.
All right. Okay? So on the part of government now, Dr. Banwo, on the part of government, what tactical methods or methodology must the federal government use in dealing with issues such as this?
Just ignore the Simon Ekpas of this world. That's number one. Don't give them breathing space. Number two, look into the genuine agitations of the Igbos who are feeling marginalized. Okay, if there's any, they've given them the commissions and all that and whatever, but I'm not going to, I say this in no conscience. I always say the way I see it. I'm not going to say the government should bend out of its own way to try to make them happy. The Yorubas still want to be happy. The thieves want to be happy. The Northerners want to be happy. They can only get what is due to them. It behoves them to form the right alliances. I don't see, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that Igbos have been victimized in Nigeria. They may not have been given power, and nobody gives anybody power. You got to go get it, okay? Are they getting the ministers they're supposed to get? They are. Are they getting appointments in government they're supposed to get? They are. Okay, I'm keeping track of this stuff myself. Every time Mr. President gives new appointments, I check for myself. This last cabinet reshuffle, go and look at how many people were appointed there. It was balanced. There were less Yorubas than the other tribes there. So for me, it's for the government to keep itself focused on what they are supposed to be doing to be fair to the eastern nations, which I think they are doing. And it is more for what the leaders of the Igbos should do. If they want a secession, let them be talking about it in the National Assembly. Let them even bring bills, even if it will not pass. They've not brought that. Let them be crying for their people. Then maybe others can cry for them. We cannot cry for more than the bereaved. So to me, it's not so much about Igbos being marginalized. It's about Igbos marginalizing themselves. On this issue of power, with all due respect, and I'm talking at the national level, me, I'm an analyst. I'm not emotional, regardless of my personal interest in the matter. I believe he should have been an Igbo president this time.
Right.
I supported Mogalu before anybody else. But it is what it is.
Dr. Banwo, let's take a break. And when we return, we'll continue this conversation. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight, we analyze the terrorism charges against Simon Ekpa. And Dr. Ope Banwo, U.S.-based lawyer and public affairs analyst, is helping us do justice to that conversation. Dr. Banwo, thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Now, let's move on quickly, because according to Finnish authorities, Simon Ekpa is accused of using social media platforms to disseminate separatist propaganda, incite violence, and encourage illegal activities. And evidently attached to this is financial terrorism. For the purpose of Nigerians, does the law permit ignorance when it comes to financial terrorism, particularly for the purpose of Nigerians and those in diaspora who contribute online during these live sessions?
Hey, that's an interesting one. There is no ignorance of the law anywhere in the world. And I think everybody knows that, especially those of us abroad. You're not going to say you are ignorant of traffic laws when they pull you over for speeding. So those who are doing that, they're doing that at their own risk, and they become accomplices, especially if the man is as open as Simon Ekpa is, as a secessionist, a violent one at that, not even one that wants to achieve it by peaceful means. That is bad enough because it's not in our constitution. But to that, try to do it violently and be calling for violence against people, and then people contributing money to that, they need to be aware that they actually accomplices. As a matter of fact, if they decide to crack down and have them arrested, they will be in for it. Unfortunately, a lot of people who support a Simon Ekpa type of human being are people who are just buying into the sentiments that he's expressing. They are not, many of them are not bothering. I'm not saying our system is perfect. I'm not saying the system we have is not victimizing the minorities, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And if we need to change it, there are better ways to change it. So those who are supporting, who are giving money to a man who is saying, "Let's to this person, kill all these people, burn the place down," you know, without anybody explaining the law to you, that you are an accomplice to somebody who wants to commit mayhem. And whatever your eye see, your eye will see. My better advice for them is for them to ramp up their advocacy. Now, by the way, people mentioned something that why are they treating the Igbo separatists as terrorists? After all, they want self-determination. And bad news that I have for you is that until you have been able to fight yourself to a stage where the ruling country recognizes you, you will be treated as a terrorist. Mandela was treated as a terrorist for 27 years until his own people were able to agitate for 20-something years to make the whole world put pressure on South Africa to recognize them. Then he died a hero. Maybe Nnamdi Kanu will still be a hero 30, 40 years from now, but for today, it's a terrorist. The Irish separatists in UK, they were treated as terrorists and gunned down on sight. At least Nigerian government is not saying shoot this man on sight. It's what Russia will do. It's what many other countries will do. So until you get that power to be able to force the other government to a discussion, you are a terrorist when you are talking about secessionist movement. It is like that all over the world. George Washington was declared a terrorist by the UK government. But when they won the war, now all of a sudden, he's the father of a new nation. But the Biafrans who want a new nation, right now at this stage of your agitation, I'm sorry to say, the only way they can designate you is as a terrorist nation. Okay, until you are able to have some representatives who are fighting your case. You have some governments who are speaking for you. And rather than working on that, regardless of how justified their grievances are, they are not doing that. Till today, they don't have one senator who is a self-identified Biafran. They don't have one House of Rep person. So your road is far. They can't treat you like a genuine self-determinant now because the world, unfortunately, the rules are written by those who are in power. That is why Israel can do whatever it wants in Palestine because they have more power. It's not about, oh, it's my right, I have a right to self-determination. You have to fight yourself there to the point where everybody would then sit at a table and say, okay, you take this. It's what happens in South Africa. It's what happens in America. It's what happens in Israel. And it's what is going to happen if the agitators are serious. And I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility that they are not serious. They're not serious human beings. If after all of this, you don't have one councillor that is wearing the cap of IPOP on their head into this chamber and say we want to be self-determined, then you have not even started.
Dr. Banwo, thank you for going there because it does look like Southeastern governors have been silent for too long. What do you think is happening? Are they overwhelmed? Because some Eastern stakeholders see this as an active accomplice.
Well, it depends on what you call accomplice. It's because they don't believe in a Biafra. They don't want Biafra. I keep telling you this. I have a lot of Igbo friends. The managing partner of my law firm is an Igbo person. He doesn't want Biafra. Every Igbo that I know, that at least most of that I know, that are reasonable, that are communicating, they keep telling me they don't want a Biafra. So who wants this Biafra? We don't even know them. That's what I'm telling you. Let them form something that is visible. Let them start from there. Let them say, the only person who's done it is Nnamdi Kanu, but he was not even doing it in Nigeria. He ran away. Okay, if you want to do a secessionist movement, you have to be ready to stay in jail for years. Everybody's done it. That's what has happened to them. Why would Nigeria be, why do they even imagine? Oh, do they expect President Tinubu to let them be walking the streets if they say they want to break up his nation, where he is the president? He cannot do that. He's going to lock you up. Okay? And then you start to do your thing. Get people on your side. Start to get people to agitate for you. Real people. Where you can then, you are now in a position to force a movement. But they're not doing that. What are they doing? Stay away Monday. They're preventing their own people from going to work. They're not even saying, okay, on Monday, so nobody from other parts of Nigeria is going to enter the eastern states. Let them stay at the borders. That, to me, is an action towards your secession. But you are seceding against your own people, not to go to work, not to feed, so they don't support them. So the governors don't buy into this Biafran thing because they know where are they going. A chicken cannot become a lion in America. Right now, the people who are governing the northeastern states are all Igbos. All their governors are Igbos. All their leaders are Igbos. What have they done with the area of land that they have? If they cannot improve that well to the point of so Nigeria is taking advantage of us, so we want to go. What do you think will happen? They give them Biafra. These governors know that. They still want that FARC allocation because they don't have enough internal generated revenue to be talking, I want to secede. They don't have the material. This is the reality. I would say, even though it makes me unpopular, the governors are not for Biafra because they know they are barely surviving now, even with FARC that is coming from all that doesn't come from their land, that is coming from materials, from income, all those stuff that doesn't come from their land. So that's why they are quiet. Their National Assembly members also know the same. Who will give them 200 million naira if they go to Biafra?
Dr. Banwo, having said that, is it really about marginalization or responsible regional leadership?
To me, it's not about marginalization because you are marginalized when you refuse to form alliances. Nobody can stand on their own. The Igbos are 18% of Nigeria. In a democracy, 18% cannot demand what they want. It's what it is. It might sound unfair. That's why even Yorubas that are much more than them, we know we are not more than 50% of the population. So we know for us to really get what we want, we have to form relationships, we have to form partnerships with the northern people. it sounds stupid when Tinubu was doing it, but he knows what he was doing. But talk about regional, but if with their current complaints, if they have better management of their resources, like I said, by their own people, they'll be better off. They are all collecting that money. What are they doing with it? That is the question the Igbo should be asking their leaders first. When you maximize what you have and you want more because they are taking more from you than they are giving you, then the talk about marginalization can come into place. But so for me, it's a premature talk because the truth of the matter is that nobody is preventing the Igbos from doing whatever they want in Nigeria if they are ready to work towards it. Yes, I know they were discriminated against over this Lagos matter, but they are still in Lagos. They still have their properties there, more than any other tribe have in their own areas. So how can they say they are being marginalized? Igbos are big level people in every other part of Nigeria. Every other part of Nigeria are not big in their own country. So if you want to talk about marginalization, it is the other parts of Nigeria that are being marginalized in Igbo land. So for me, this is the reality. But they make it sound as if, oh, Nigeria is killing them, Nigeria don't like them. No, they don't like themselves. In the sense that they are not being tactical. You have to be tactical to move forward. In the last dispensation, they were supposed to get the president of the Senate, but guess what? They voted their own guy that is the closest guy they would have given it to. If he was there, what's the name of that guy that was in the APC? He lost election. So what are they going to do? So they are not voting in their own interest, which is what everybody else in the world does. That's what the Yorubas do. That's what the Hausas do. The Igbos are not voting in their own interest because they want to be number one before they have served credibly as number two and number three. And you are 18% of the population. It's like the blacks in America demanding that we must have a black president. It doesn't work. You are 18%, and it's a democracy, the rule of the majority. To win, you have to suck up, you have to get close, you have to smoosh the majority so that they can feel safe and confident to give you power. I will speak to my Igbo brothers tonight again one more time. The reason why it looks like the Hausas are not comfortable with Igbos or the Yorubas is that they don't trust that when you get there, you're going to take care of everybody. They feel you are too chronic. And I'm speaking with all sense of responsibility. So, and by getting a little bit closer, making people understand that I know Igbos are good. My partner is Igbo. I love him more than my own blood brother. Okay? Why? Because I've seen him for years. I always tell my brothers. But he's done that by being close to me. Over the years, I've come to trust him. I could hand over my law firm to him, and he's doing his stuff. So if a Peter Obi will say, oh, I want to contest election, and they are saying, let me, you and PDP come together. You are in the smaller party, from a smaller tribe, from a smaller experience, but you are saying, no, you must be president for somebody who has been VP twice, who has been running for election how many years, who knows where all the dead bodies are buried, who could fight for you when they try to rig the election, who could call out his people. You say, no, he has to be VP. That is the problem. Is he being marginalized now, or did he marginalize himself? I mean, it's my candidate. It was my candidate. Let me take that.
But Dr. Banwo, now that we have the Southeast Development Commission, is that enough to engender unity in the region?
Not really. I don't think so, unless they do better in terms of management. They had one before. Like I said, redesignating Ope Banwo as now Segun Banwo is not going to make him a better performer. At least they had one. The Southwest just had one, so we don't know what they would do. They not just had one, but they've always had one in the Southeast. They are the one collecting all that money, the what they call Niger, whatever. They even had their own ministry before, Ministry of Niger Delta. They had but they didn't use the money well. A few of their people embezzled most of the money. Instead of them going to go call them to account, they're here talking about marginalization. They were the first. They are being favored in those type of areas. They got the commission first. So giving them a redesignated one, is it going to make them better? Not really. If their people are not ready to hold them accountable, just like all of us in Nigeria are not ready to hold our leaders accountable, we are not going anywhere. So I'm not going to say it's going to make their stuff better. They need better leaders. They need better accountability. And no amount of redesignating their structures is going to change that.
Maybe we should talk about national cohesion. How do we enhance national integrity in our their country?
It is tough the theory of it is good to say, but the reality of it is that every one of us, myself, yourself, almost every Nigerian inclusive, our DNA is our tribal identity is in our DNA, no matter how much we pretend that we are detribalized. When it comes right down to it, you will see that people come up and they step up for their tribe. Even guys that you don't think are tribalized, you saw that in the last election. Even me, I'm still in shock with some of my own friends, the way they came out in favor of their tribe. But I've come to realize that it's a reality. So the best thing is to go more forward towards a proper federalism, more powers to the regions, which is what I suspect President Bola Tinubu is doing already. He's already using style because it's not in our constitution to be able to just go regional like that. But you see everything that he's doing, trying to give more power to the regions. So that's how we do it, because no matter how you say, the Igbo man will tell you, I'm Igbo first before Nigeria. A Yoruba man may want to deny that, but when it comes to crunch time, where people are claiming their land as their own, you saw all of them come out, professors, all of those people say, what do people mean? You want to take our land? Everybody's like that. The Hausas too are like that. So let's recognize that. Instead of apologizing for ethnicism, let's strengthen it so that people can then be self-governing. So that is why all these commissions is why I welcome it. Let the Igbos be able to govern the Igbos better. Let the Yorubas be able to govern Yorubas better. Give them more power rather than trying to say everybody should forget about their tribe and become one Nigeria. No, we can be one Nigeria. One Nigeria will be in the context of our ethnic identity because that's who we are. I've been in America for 20-something years, but I see identify more with Yoruba than Nigeria when it comes to crunch time. We can all say all the English, but when it comes down to it, if they start burning a place in Ijebu Mushi now, the way I react to it is different from the way I will react to when they are burning a place down in Kano. It's the way it is. So embrace reality. Our DNA is in our blood. Our tribal DNA is in our blood. Recognize that, and then in that context, give people more power to be self-governing, which is this regionalism and the self-determination thing we are talking about. And I think rather than railing at the current president, because he doesn't have the power to do it on his own, he's already more or less even stepping a little bit out of the constitution a bit by overdoing, giving powers more to the region. We need to change our constitution. That's the real problem. We need our senators and our National Assembly people to get together and fight for this proper regionalism, change what they need to change so that they can unloose the hand of the Mr. President to do what he should be doing in terms of regional autonomy. Until that is done, we're just joking here. Mr. President is still duty-bound today to appoint people from every state of Nigeria. He's doing that. Every part, the quota system and all of that, as much as possible, they are doing that. But it's limited by the constitution that we are running. So the primary problem is how do we fix this constitution to give reality and to give legal reality to what is already a social reality. Everybody is put their tribe first before they are Nigeria. And that's the way it was in the 60s, okay, where you have these regions competing on the basis of their region.
Dr. Banwo, you have just said everyone has a role to play in this, but what exactly is the role of the National Assembly and the judiciary in achieving national integration?
Well, the judiciary, number one, okay, they can't change the law. The law is the law. They are not the one part. Their own is to interpret it, and they just need to be better and give better, transparent judgment. And I thank God that they are turning on themselves to try to make sure we get that. That's how they can play their role, where the Igbo, the Yoruba, and the Hausa feel they're going to get equal access to justice in Nigeria. Right now, that is not happening, and I thank God that the judiciary is finally starting to turn on itself to make it right. For the National Assembly, they need to understand the imperatives of this, not just be talking about it, because they can find a political solution to this regionalism, even if it's not in our constitution. They did it before now, so if the willpower is right there, they can all gather and figure out what they want to do to bring this regionalism alive. The truth is they don't want it. I keep telling people. Because then that means they have to work harder. That means they have to eat only what they get. Many of the regions don't want that. I'm not going to name names, but they understand what that meant. That's why it's not moving. If really our leaders really feel that this regionalism thing is important enough as a solution to our problem, they will have gone further than they do. But right now, what they tell us is not in the constitution. They keep dodging. Because the truth of the matter is that some of those regions that were lying, that we merged, they are not self-sustaining. They still want to keep sharing this FAC money. The governors that rule them also still want access to this federal money. That's why everybody's doing what I call talk about national cohesion. They know what to do. If they all sit down there and discuss it for 2-3 weeks, they will figure out a political solution, even if it's not a fully constitutional solution, that they will even be able to convince the judges to go along. If Mr. President is in it, they decide what they want to do in the 2 chambers, and they agreed. They sell it to Mr. President. Mr. President is on board. Now we have the executive and legislature. It becomes easy to be able to get the judiciary to back you up, at least on the face of it. But they're not doing that. So you tell me, what is anybody, our senators, our House of Reps people, what are they doing right now to really get us back to proper federalism? They are not doing it because it's not in their interest. They want that 200 million naira cars to keep coming. They may not get that in the regional government because we will tear their cloth if they want to do that. They don't want that.
So, Dr. Banwo, because you are just talking about the essence of true federalism, recently Chief Ayoku says no leader can fix this country with a 1999 constitution. So, a new constitution or further amendment of the 1999 constitution?
100%. 100%. But again, because I'm also on record, at the same time, I don't want us to get fixated on the problems of the 1999 constitution. Because yes, the 1999 constitution is holding us back in being able to be truly federal, okay? But even with what we have, we are still not producing 20% of the efficiency we can, because most of our money is still being stolen. If people embezzle money, is that got to do with federalism or regionalism or whatever? It's got nothing to do with all of that. When you have governors that are not performing, what has that got to do with regionalism and constitution? They give you money to manage your state, but you spend most of it, you chop most of it, you use most of it for your friends, you don't develop your state. How is that a constitutional problem? What we have is a corruption, number one, at the top of it all. Number one, corruption. Number two, non-performance of our government. Our structure, which is the constitution, is like number 3 or number 4 down there. After all, UK does not have a written constitution. Forget federalism or clinicalism that we are talking about. UK does not have one. But they are running their country well for hundreds of years. So let's not get fixated on the letter of the law. Let's focus on the spirit of the law. The constitution that we have now can work if we have people who are ready to work it well. Right now, our leaders are using that to confuse us. And they say, oh, it's the constitution. That's like, no. The money you took last month, how did you judiciously use it for your people the way it's supposed to be used? Or are you corrupt? We have politicians who come in with 2 cars, they leave the place multi-billionaires. That is the problem. And that problem will not be solved with a new constitution, is what I'm telling you. Right. Biafra problem will not be solved with giving them that direct and say you are now Biafra. Because they still have corrupt leaders who will still go there and chop the money. So we should focus on the true problem. Yes, we can do with a better constitution, but that's a lesser part of our problem. A bigger part of our problem is judicious allocation of the resources that we have for the purposes for which it was meant. And until we learn to do that, even if Jesus were to come to earth and give Nigeria a new constitution now, we are still going to mess it up. It's just the reality. When you are having national defense, whatever, carrying people's money and burying it in a latrine or somewhere with that last government, when you are still having people putting money, people's money in a room, you are talking constitution. What has that got to do with it? Yeah.
I think it's an instructive way to leave the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's always a pleasure speaking with you on national issues. Thank you so much. Dr. Ope Banwo is a U.S.-based lawyer, author, entrepreneur, and internet business consultant. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and please have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight, but you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olanjumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com facebook.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night and have a great weekend.